Got John Hardy today. John Hardy was a desperate little man, carried 2 guns every day, killed him a man in the West Virginia land. Oughta seen poor Johnny running away, Lord, Lord, now oughta seen John Hardy running away. He's an outlaw. Young man, killed a dealer at a card game, murdered him. It's a long story, but it's historic kind of West Virginia lore. The outlaw, the young man, the desperado. Over the years, I've run into a couple of people, little jobs I had working. Ran a welding shop in Orange County, making motorcycle exhaust back in the 70s, early 70s. Kind of good days. They had a lot of motors. I love motorcycles. And there was this guy, Sammy K. He was a slick, he had the hair back and really cool handlebar mustache. Sammy got hired during one of our big rushes. From say like February through October, we had a need for anybody to come and work in that place to make motorcycle exhaust. He worked in different various areas in the shop. I don't know who hired him. I think maybe our boss felt sorry for him. He's about 45 years old. He had a Honda CB350 4-cylinder. They're kind of cool looking from a side view, but they're a little runty for me. He had that bike. It was blue. And that's all he had. I don't think he ever brought a car to work and like that. And he wore coveralls, these polyester. I think he bought them by the 12-pack. Polyester coveralls. Always had the shirt opened up. No t-shirt on, anything like that. He had some tattoos and stuff on him, and he had that handlebar mustache. Never wore a helmet. That was before Gary Busey mashed his head in and had the helmet law in California. But at any rate, he had this rule we had overtime. Everybody worked 4 10-hour days, and then Saturday or Friday would be a overtime. They could work Saturday too. I did a bunch of times. During the season, you make a lot of money working there for the era. He never worked overtime, but he would come back on Friday. He'd come in with his motorcycle. He always had a new girlfriend on the back. They had good teeth. They'd sit there and smile while he went in, and I can't say disparage as to what he was doing in there, but we lost a lot of tools during that era. And when he left, that some of that reduced in the loss, but it's kind of a little bit sidelight to the story. But the main story is he was an outlaw, and he'd been to jail a few times, and he had worked in the mines. He talked about working in mines, and had kind of a nasty, if you confronted him about things like being late or doing a sloppy job or general, was he stealing or selling drugs and stuff like that, you really didn't want to accuse him, but you could. I kind of alluded a few times that he was a scumbag, but he got mad at me. The main thing he got mad at for me is we had in the welding shop, we had these gas savers. At any rate, the gas savers were to allow you to be hands-free to work something and then have your torch automatically shut off and save the gas for the oxygen to settle in. They had a little pilot light on them, and when you released from the lever, you snapped, it was automatically on and pop and go on, and you'd go on and weld your stuff up, and when you stopped, you'd set it down. You didn't have to adjust the valves from a neutral flame. We also had this station that had this thing called a rosebud tip on it. It just roar out the heat. It was like 6 oxyacetylene flame ports, and they blow out this godly hot flame. And we had these quarter-inch brackets that the guy would get orange shot and then pound down over the metal and then tack it on there and move it on to the next guy. He kind of focused on that station at the end of the work shift every day. And he'd take that and shut off the acetylene flame and just have a really hard blast of oxygen coming out. And he'd blew his coveralls off. He'd have grinding dust and metal shavings and shop oil on it from handling the covered sheet metal and stuff. And he'd get that kind of padded in here where he wiped his hands and stuff all the time. He had his shirt open, a couple of chest hairs going, and the handlebar mustache, and he'd blow off his hair and blow off his shirt. And mentioned to him, I wasn't the only one mentioning to him. We had a problem with injuries, workplace injuries as it was. I mean, people, you could lose a part in that shop if you weren't thinking. I mean, there's no drinking and stuff. After a while, that was a hard lesson to learn. No drinking at lunchtime, no pot smoking at work. Because injury rate would go up at that time. But we told them not to do that with the oxygen, because we'd all been to training classes in the well about not using oxygen, especially with oil and stuff, but to blow things off, because it made you real flammable. He smoked too, you know. Always had a cigarette at the end of the day. He'd walk out. Well, one day, old Sammy, I told him that. I told him, Sammy, don't do that. That's really dangerous. It's hard for him. He told me to shut up. He'd skin me alive and burn my house down. Leave me alone. I got my own life. Got that done. Was walking out the door. One day he did it. I wasn't watching. I had been busy shutting up my station or doing some thing, and there was a pop sound and a scream from Jan, the shipping manager, and Sammy had exploded. His coveralls had hit somehow an ash or something lit, or he lit the match too close, and he burnt the top half of his covers off all the way to his underwear line. And the only thing left on his top part with the cuffs, a little thicker material, a little bit of the collar, and some of the polyester had kind of melted into his chest. Just right in here where he really got the blast, because he used to really get those coveralls flapping where he wanted to get the dust, the grinding dust and metal shavings and stuff off. But he was bright red on the front side. And he had that kind of pasty white skin, sweaty, uncomfortable look on the back. And he got himself under the neck real bad and took off whatever scraggly face hair he had, and he burnt that ends of those handlebar mustache to his lip, eyebrows, and shoot that hair up. And they were going to take him to the emergency hospital. We had a fast track to the emergency hospital because I said there was real injuries happen there on occasion. They said, no, I've been hurt worse than this at the mines. And someone gave him a painter's shop coat to put on, and he got on his motorcycle and rode off. He was a little subdued. He wasn't mad. I mean, he wasn't cussing or anybody like that, and he didn't look me in the eye. I thought it was pretty funny at the time. I felt sorry kind of for him, but he was a real jackass. He's an outlaw. He never came back. I think Chuck paid him some money to go away. It's one of those ways that you cover your losses, whether he's going to try to sue the company for not blaming. But he rode away, old Johnny running away. Lord, Lord. But he went away, old Sammy the Slick. Brings me to the point of my story is I have a character in one of my novellas, The Flash and the Thunder. My young hero character, Thomas, who shows up in several stories at different stages of his life in the Worlds of the Orb series. But there's his neighbor. In fact, his whole neighbor family is a bunch of outlaws, mainly Dell, the older son. Evil, possessed people. Great story, The Flash and the Thunder. If you get a chance to read any of my works, W.C. Quick Author, WCQuickAuthor.com, and all my works are available from Amazon Books. Thank you.